"You're nothing but a problem," my brother said. "This family would be better without you," my dad added. I walked out without a word. Now they won't stop calling me. "Hey, I'm Nate. I'm 28, single, and have no kids. According to my family, or at least my dad and older brother, Mark, I'm nothing but trouble. The last time I was home, Mark basically spat that at me. Then Dad added with a shrug, this family would finally have peace without you." I didn't shout, cry, or argue. I just got up, grabbed my jacket, and walked out into the chilly evening without another word. That was 8 days ago. Since then, I've gone radio silent. No calls, no texts, no visits, and I haven't even hit like on their social media. But this morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, all from them. Let me rewind a bit because this whole thing didn't just start last week, it goes back years, maybe even decades. Growing up, Mark was the golden child. He was the football team captain, got straight A's, and never got grounded, the kind of kid parents plaster on the fridge with medals and newspaper clippings. I was different. I liked drawing, reading, and music, basically everything Mark didn't. While he got praise, I got warnings. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" was practically our family motto. By high school, I'd already internalized the idea that I was a letdown. Things got worse when Mom passed away 5 years ago. She was the only one who truly got me, the buffer between me and the rest of the family. Her death sparked a shift. Dad stopped pretending to tolerate me, and Mark became the family spokesperson and moral compass, which basically meant it was his way or the highway. More often than not, I took the highway. Still, I tried. I showed up for birthdays, offered to help with house repairs, and even loaned Mark $5,000 for his new car down payment, that he never paid back. But none of that ever seemed to change their view of me. If my opinions clashed with theirs, I was difficult. If I didn't want to spend a weekend helping my dad paint the garage, I was ungrateful. When I landed a remote IT job and got my own apartment, Dad's response was, "Don't mess it up." The latest blow-up was over something ridiculously minor. It was a Saturday at Dad's place for dinner, me, Mark, his wife Lauren, and their 2 kids. I brought homemade tiramisu, which had a hint of Marsala wine. Lauren took one look and said, "Oh, this is alcohol. The kids can't eat this." Sure, there was a tiny bit of alcohol, but nobody was forcing the kids to eat it. I said, "It's mostly for the adults, but I can make something else next time." Mark scoffed and muttered, "Always has to be different." I ignored it, even though it made my blood pressure spike. Then, Lauren suggested ordering a kid-friendly dessert, and Dad chimed in with, "See, this is the problem. You always make things harder than they need to be." I left the room, my hands shaking but staying silent, trying to calm down in the kitchen. That's when Mark followed me in and said, "You're nothing but a problem, Nate. You always have been," like he was stating the weather. I searched his face for a hint of remorse or awareness, there was none. I walked out, grabbed my coat, and as I passed Dad, he added, still not looking up, "This family would finally have peace without you." No one stopped me, not even Lauren, who used to pretend to be neutral. I closed the door, sat in my car for half an hour, not crying or angry, just hollow, like I was attending the funeral of a relationship I'd tried too hard to revive. That night, I packed a bag, drove back to my city apartment, and decided not to reach out again. The first few days were quiet, and honestly, that silence was a relief. I got back into reading, hit the gym, watched movies I'd been meaning to see, and even started sketching again, a hobby I hadn't touched in years. No passive-aggressive calls, no guilt trips, just peace. Then came the first missed call from Lauren, which I ignored. Then a call from Dad, then 2 from Mark. Yesterday, there were 5 more, and this morning, 17 missed calls, all from them. No voicemails, just a screen full of missed attempts like they were panicking. I haven't answered any, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious. Something big must have happened, maybe it's about Mark. So, here's the situation. I lost my job, and maybe my dad wasn't doing too well health-wise, or maybe they finally felt what it's like when someone you label as a problem just up and vanishes. I'm not quite ready to pick up the phone and call them back. Yeah, part of me is curious about what's going on with them, but another part, the bigger part, is stuck in that moment in the kitchen, remembering the hurt on my brother's face when he said I didn't fit in. Now, if they need something from me, they're about to find out the hard way what happens when the so-called problem stops playing along. I haven't picked up any of their calls, I just kept staring at my phone, half expecting it to start buzzing again. And when it finally did, around noon, I just watched it buzz on the table. It was Dad again. I muted it and flipped it face down as if it were toxic or something. Whatever they wanted now? Not my issue anymore. Or at least that's what I was telling myself. But the thing about cutting off toxic folks is, the silence they leave isn't always quiet, sometimes it echoes like crazy. You end up replaying old conversations, trying to figure out where things turned sour. I thought a lot about Mom that day, how everything felt different when she was around. She'd sneak little gifts into my room after I'd argue with Dad, books, sketch pads, candy bars. She'd step in quietly when Mark was being a bully. She really saw me, had my back, and after she passed away, it felt like nobody else did. So yeah, I thought about calling them back. Not because I forgave or missed them, but because a small part of me clung to the hope they could be better, that they finally realized how mean they'd been. Then came a text from Lauren. "Hey Nate, sorry to reach out this way but something's up with your dad. He's been in and out of the hospital since Tuesday. Mark's losing it. Can you call when you have a minute?" I just looked at the message for a full minute, then locked my phone. Hospital since Tuesday? That was 4 days ago, and they're just texting me now? After all they said, after claiming the family would be peaceful without me, they think I'd come running now that stuff's unraveling? I plopped down on my couch, trying to calm down. My first reaction was guilt, I have to admit, but that quickly turned into confusion and then something colder, anger. Not just at the message, but at the assumption behind it. They didn't want me there for support, they needed me to fix things again. That's always been my role, hasn't it? The emotional punching bag, the quiet helper, the one who cleaned up their messes without saying a word, who helped with emergency bills, who set up monthly payments for Dad's medical debt when no one else would. And now that they've pushed me away, they're realizing just how many things I was holding together. Here's the kicker, they didn't even tell me directly about Dad being sick. I found out through a text from Lauren, the one person who never stood up for me when the family turned against me. No direct call, no heartfelt message, just a guilt-laden note dropped in my lap. I didn't respond, instead, I opened my banking app. For the past year, I'd been quietly sending $500 a month to help Dad with his health insurance premium. I set it up after overhearing him complain about how costly it was, and he never knew it was me. But now, staring at that line in my budget, I realized it wasn't mine anymore. The me who took abuse and kept giving out of some twisted sense of duty? He left that house last week and didn't look back. So, I canceled the autopay. I thought I'd feel bad, but I didn't. I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted and I could finally breathe. Then, another text from Mark, "I don't care what happened last week. We need to talk. Call me now." No apology, no acknowledgement of the hurt, just a demand, like I was still at his beck and call. I laughed out loud for the first time in days. The nerve. It would have been funny if it wasn't so typical. They hadn't changed, none of them had. They weren't reaching out because they missed me, they reached out because things were falling apart and it finally hit home just how much I had been holding together. So, I didn't call back. I didn't text back. Instead, I opened my notes app and started jotting everything down. I was still footing the bill for stuff at Dad's place, like the utilities, car insurance that Mark never bothered to switch to his name, and the shared phone plan that Lauren was sneaking onto because the idea of changing plans freaked her out. So I made a list and started cutting cords one at a time. If they wanted life without me, fine, but they should realize what it costs when the person keeping everything running behind the scenes decides to call it quits. I was halfway through my list when my phone rang again. Same number. This time, I picked up, and my heart just stopped because it wasn't Mark, it was my dad. His voice was shaky, not from being sick, but because he finally got just how much he'd pushed me away, and who actually had control of the situation. At first, I just stayed quiet. No hello, no what do you want, just silence. We both hung there for a beat, with only the faint beeping of a hospital monitor in the background. Then he spoke, all raspy and thin, like he was pulling the words out with a rope. "Nate, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. No joke, right?" But I didn't say a word, just waited to see what he'd say without me giving him anything to latch onto. He coughed, like he was gathering strength or stalling for time, and then went on, slower this time. "I've been in the hospital. They found some things wrong. Mark's been handling it, but his voice caught. I asked him to call you. So it wasn't even his idea." I kept quiet, letting him squirm a bit. "There's no easy way to say it," he went on. "I've got a few blockages, heart's not doing great. They're talking about surgery but I'm not sure yet. Just thought you should know." Like he was doing me some big favor by telling me. I took a slow breath. Didn't ask about the surgery, didn't ask how he was holding up. Instead, I broke the silence with one flat question, And now you need something? He didn't deny it, which was telling enough. Look, he muttered, I didn't mean what I said the other night. I was angry, stressed, you know how it gets. I closed my eyes at that line. You know how it gets, the family's go-to excuse for every emotional bruise they left behind, like being treated like crap was just part of the deal. No, I said, keeping my voice calm but sharp. I don't know how it gets because I don't talk to people like that. I don't tell my own son he's the problem. I don't sit across from him and say the family would be better off if he disappeared. Silence again, with that dead kind of quiet where you know someone's deciding whether to lash out or back down. I didn't mean, he started, but I cut in. You did. You always did. You just never had to face what came after. He let out a long breath, not arguing, which was a first. But I wasn't finished. You didn't want a son. You wanted another Mark, but you got me instead, and you've been punishing me for it since I was 10. Nate, he started again. No, I said, firmer this time. You don't get to talk now. You can't cut someone out of your life and then act surprised when they're not around to help you clean up. The sound he made then wasn't words, more like a mix between a cough and a sob, and it was jarring. I'd never heard him sound like that before, and for a second, I wasn't angry, just empty. Once, I would have done anything to hear my dad cry over something I said, just to know he felt anything about me at all. But now, it felt too late. I just wanted peace. Everything fell apart after your mom passed, he said quietly. I didn't know how to fix anything, so I took it out on you. That hit like a sucker punch, not because it was an excuse but because it was true, and I'd been waiting years for even a hint of accountability. I didn't let it soften me, though. You didn't just take it out on me, I said. You made me believe I deserved it. And there it was, the core of it, the part that still ached. Not the insults, not the guilt trips, but the years I spent twisting myself into knots trying to earn the approval of someone who never gave it freely, who made me think I owed him something. He didn't say anything in response, no defense, no denial, just silence. And then, are you coming back? I let that question hang there. It felt almost surreal that the guy who told me the family would be better off without me was now asking if I'd come back, like he finally got how much he needed me, like maybe Mark was drowning, the money was drying up, and they realized they thought I'd. He didn't actually say the words "I'll always be there," but it was all over his face when he asked, "Are you coming back?" I thought about my tiny apartment, that cozy little rented space where no one yelled or made me feel like I was too much to handle. I pictured my sketch pad on my nightstand and my cat, Toby, who I adopted a couple of months ago. Toby curls up with me every night, no judgments. For the first time in forever, I felt whole, far away from them. So I just said, no. Just one word, but it felt huge, like it echoed inside me. He took a shaky breath and said, "Please, we're family." I shot back, "Exactly, and you showed me how this family treats anyone who doesn't fit into their perfect little box. I'm done trying to squeeze into it." He tried again, "At least talk to Mark." "He's trying." I almost laughed. "Mark's trying because I'm gone, not because he's changed." That's not growth, it's panic. Another awkward silence stretched between us, but I didn't fill it this time. "So, what now?" he finally asked. For the first time, I felt calm. "You figure it out," I said. "The way I had to when you called me a failure at 16, when Mom died, and you didn't bother to ask how I was holding up, every time you decided I was the problem." His response was a quiet, defeated okay, and there was no more begging, no tantrums, just that one word. I hung up without waiting for a goodbye, then went to the kitchen to get a glass of water, staring out at the city skyline. 17 missed calls turned into one moment of clarity, but they still had no idea how much more was about to unravel. I thought hanging up would be the end of it. Nope. Over the next couple of days, the messages came pouring in, some were pitiful, some angry, others just plain confusing. First, Lauren sent this long, rambling apology filled with talk of misunderstandings and how everyone makes mistakes. Then, Mark called 12 times in one afternoon, alternating between voicemails demanding I stop punishing them and ones trying to guilt-trip me with updates about Dad's blood pressure and surgery. I ignored them all. I'd spent 28 years being the family's peacekeeper, the one they blamed until they needed me again. They wanted peace, a peace they got without me, but they didn't realize it came with unpaid bills and no more safety nets. 3 days after that last call with Dad, I got another shock. It was Wednesday night, around 10:30 p.m. I was doodling on the couch, Toby snuggled against my leg, when an email notification popped up. Subject line, "Notice of lapsed insurance premium policy cancelled." I knew what it was, the $500 a month policy I'd quietly been paying for Dad's extra insurance. Without it, his upcoming heart surgery wouldn't be covered as fully. It meant no more low co-pays or fancy meds. He was now in the figure-it-out-yourself tier of medical care. I sipped my tea and didn't even blink. 2 days later, the phone plan was shut off. That same day, I got a frantic message on Facebook Messenger from Lauren asking if I could check the phone account because something seemed wrong. I didn't reply, just blocked her. Next up was the car insurance. I'd been co-signing for Mark's SUV, still in my name from when he couldn't get a loan on his own 3 years ago. The account was spotless until I closed it. I paid one last time to cover the current month, then canceled my authorization and mailed a notarized release of liability to the DMV. Anything that happened with that car now, it's on him. I even took care of the safety deposit box Dad forgot he put in my name after Mom passed. It was filled with important documents, like birth certificates and the deed to the old family cabin they always planned to fix up. Since they never changed it, I had it transferred back to my name. Guess they didn't think the family disappointment knew how to handle legal stuff. Then I went quiet again and waited. It didn't take long. That weekend, my doorbell rang. I didn't answer. A minute later, a timid knock came, followed by a voice, "Nate, please just open the door." It was Mark. Watching through the peephole, I saw he looked thinner and tired, his usual confident stance gone, his shoulders drooped, hair a mess, with dark circles under his eyes. He looked like a man on the edge. I opened the door just a crack so he knew I was there, but I didn't say anything. I just let him. After what felt like forever of silence, he finally spoke up, "We need help." I just nodded, thinking to myself how clueless I was about all the stuff like insurance, the car, or even the house bills. It's like Dad was losing his mind, and Lauren was in full-on panic mode. I'd even had to hit up her parents for some cash just to buy groceries. I kept quiet and let him talk it out. The real kicker was that Dad might not be able to get his surgery now because the costs are skyrocketing, and the hospital's all about getting us into some payment plan. Still, I waited. He finally glanced up, eyes all teary, and asked, "Why are you doing this?" I let out a tiny, sharp laugh. "Why am I doing this?" I shot back. "You called me a problem, Mark. Said the family would be better off without me." He gulped and said, "We were angry. You know how Dad is." I replied, "I'm done making excuses for him, and for you too." He said we were family. "No," I replied, "real family doesn't use love as a weapon, doesn't leave you out in the cold and then count on you to bail them out." He looked down, rubbing his neck just like he used to when Mom told him off as a kid. "I didn't think you'd actually walk away," he said. I shrugged and said, "That's the thing about bridges, Mark. You never expect them to go up in flames until it's too late." He blinked, and I think the reality hit him. There was no magic fix, no half-hearted apology that could undo years of emotional damage in one doorstep talk. "What do you want?" he asked softly. "Do you want us to beg? Is this revenge?" I shook my head, saying, "I don't want revenge. I want freedom and peace, the kind you all claimed you'd have without me. So enjoy it." As I started to close the door, he moved forward instinctively, and for a split second, I thought he might try to keep it open, but he didn't. "Nate," he called, his voice cracking, "I'm sorry." That stopped me for a moment. It wasn't yelled or fake, just a quiet regret from a guy who finally understood the mess he'd been part of. I met his eyes and said, "I hope you mean that, not because I need it, but because you do." Then I shut the door for good. 3 weeks passed, and there was nothing from them. No texts, no calls, not even a knock at the door. I figured maybe that was it until a letter showed up in the mail. It was handwritten, no return address, just my name on the front. Sitting at the kitchen table, I opened it up and saw the first line, "Nate, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I wanted you to know I heard you. I don't expect forgiveness. I probably don't deserve it, but I am sorry for everything." Dad went on, saying things I'd waited my entire life to hear. He admitted that he took his grief out on me after Mom passed away, acknowledged that I wasn't lesser, just different, and that he couldn't handle it. He mentioned that Mark had filled him in on everything, the canceled policies, the insurance issues, the calls, the way I'd walked away. And then came the part that finally got the tears flowing. "I told you once this family would have peace without you. I was wrong. There is no peace without you, only silence." He ended by saying he wouldn't reach out again unless I did first, no guilt trips, no pressure, just some space. I folded the letter and set it aside, then took a look around my apartment. The sun was streaming through the windows, and Toby was sprawled out on the floor, giving me this slow blink like he knew something had changed. I didn't reach out to them, not that week, not the next, but I kept that letter. And every time I looked at it, I remembered something crucial: peace isn't handed to you. It's something you claim for yourself. And for the first time, I had it. Not because they'd changed, but because I finally had. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And hit the notification bell to stay updated with more crazy real life stories happening around you.